good evening, and welcome. It is time once again for CU Immigration here on WRFU LP Urbana 104.5 FM. I will be your host for this evening. My name is Mr. Garza, and I am here to let you know that WRFU is an open forum for the Urbana-Champaign community. Views expressed are those of the speakers and are not intended to represent WRFU, UCIMC, Urbana Socialist Forum, or, as we like to say on the televised edition of this show, UPTV. These views are our own, and by our in this instance, I mean me. Us. We. The editorial we is going to be speaking to you. We will deign to share our views and opinions with you at this time, as long as you understand that these are words. They get in the way of what I'm trying to say. These are our opinions, our meaning we, the editorial we, and no one else's. And or whoever's opinions I'm reading. I always like to throw that in because nobody ever says that. They're always like, oh, these opinions are our own. And then they read something and it's like, well, there's an opinion in there and I may not agree with it. I might talk about it and I might disagree with it from talking about it. But through reading it, I will have shared it. And so you will be getting an opinion that's not my own. Gosh, my fingers are crooked. I wonder if I broke my finger. Maybe they're just getting crooked as I get older. I don't know. I have no idea. Anyway, neither here nor there. I haven't been here for the last, 2 weeks? Something like that. I apologize. This show is, as I have said before, is difficult to do week after week by myself. It's just, it's much easier when someone else is there, but I just don't seem to have time to go out and round up corral. Get along, little doggies. Get out there and corral me a guest. I just don't. I don't know. I'm busy with enough stuff that I don't have time to go out and try and find guests, and then the arduous task of talking them into being on the radio. It's funny. There's so many people who are like, "Oh no, not on the radio." They're just, I don't know, they're shy about it, or they're, I don't know, they're shy about it, I guess, I don't know. Or they don't want to commit themselves to my vast legion of listeners, which is maybe numbers none, given the fact that I'm so inconsistent about when I'm on the air. I don't know, there may be a listener or two out there. But yeah, so the topic, for those who just accidentally tuned in and are like, I've never heard this show before, because you're never here. You're always off running around doing stuff and not being on the radio. This show's about immigration. As you could have guessed from the title, CU Immigration. CU being Champaign-Urbana, immigration being immigration. So what is CU Immigration about? Well, it is the radio version of CU Immigration Forum, where I come on and sometimes I have guests. I do have guests on here. And other times I just talk by myself and I discuss the topic of immigration. This is a pro-immigrant show. This is a pro-immigration show. What do I mean by that? That by separating it like that, I mean two different things. One, pro-immigrant. We are for, speaking on behalf of and in support of immigrants generally. And we are here, I am here, speaking on behalf of immigration. So that's two different-ish things. I mean, one, the people. I really like to talk about the people. I don't spend as much time talking about immigration as a topic, generally because I think, except for heavy viewers of Fox News and other right-wingish propaganda outlets, and we can discuss that if you wish, immigration is generally known to be a good thing. Up until not that long ago, America meaning the U.S., not America like North, South, Central, blah, 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 but the country that likes to call itself America, which is one of the countries in the Americas, we're very fond, used to be very fond of saying we're a nation of immigrants, and talking about, singing the praises of the many immigrants that came here from other places and helped forge this new nation. Of course, that's ignoring a bit of history, but that was the general idea, and that was a very popular idea. Now, with the advent of this uber-nationalist right-wing government that we have in power at the moment, that's not such a positive thing. They don't, sorry, I'm adjusting volumes here and I can't reach, my arms are too short. Test. Okay, that's better. I was getting into the red zone and that's not good. So according to our new right-leaning, I'll put it that way, how's that, it'll be less controversial. Our new right-leaning government, not so new, but newish. The whole idea of this being a nation of immigrants and, we're proud of our immigrant heritage and all that stuff is not a very popular idea. Somehow they have mentally erased that whole bit from that whole part of history from their memories. Not sure how the new Trumpian history, the American myth reads now. Maybe it's something like a group of white people came from Europe and fought a brave war against the ignorant savages and won and set up a great country, and it's been that way ever since until lefties and immigrants started coming here and ruining things, or something like that. I'm not really sure. They kind of avoid talking about history because history does not agree with them, just like most science does not agree with them, and most facts don't agree with them. They prefer alternative facts. I'm being snarky here, but it is that weird to try and talk about what the new Republican Party, the Trump Party, I guess you'd call it, exactly what they think and what they mean and what they're trying to do. I mean, from the outside, as someone who does not support them in any way, shape, or form, they appear to be trying to turn this into a all-white, all-Christian, yeah. I don't know, all white and all Christian. I'm not even sure what the other thing, male-dominated. I don't know. I'm trying to think of what else, but just the basic outlines are this sort of notion of patriarchy and I don't even know. I'm not even sure, because in the past, like even in the 80s, let's say we go back to Reagan, you had a pretty right-wing Republican ascendancy at that time. Even then, there were these aspirational goals, this notion, as Reagan liked to put it, the shining city on the hill. I mean, there was this talk of greatness, and there is talk of greatness now, but it lacks details, because all the things that go into making greatness, at least as far as this culture is concerned, are questionable things that they don't like to really bring up because they don't have a good record with that, or they actually argue against it. So inclusiveness, no. Liberty for everyone, not really. Liberty only for certain people if you can afford to pay for it. Abundance, all these different things, all the things that were good before are now restricted in different ways. Freedom of religion? No, that only means, to them, it means the freedom of Christians to basically persecute everyone else if they want to, or at least deny them the same rights and privileges. So it's like they can sort of allude to some of these things, but they can't really get in there and really rhetorically celebrate them because they don't really believe in any of that stuff. And it's weird. It's like the adherents of this new religion, I don't know, maybe that's going too far, but whatever you want to call it, I don't think deep thinking, introspection, really trying to grasp the essentials of the thing, I don't think any of that is really very desirable for them, because they have to know on some level that this is a pretty messed up system that they are promoting and defending. It's basically, right now, our government seems to sort of be teetering back and forth between two goals. One is the protection, promotion, and glorification of Trump as a person, as himself. And the other is protection, promotion, and glorification of wealth and privilege. And it just kind of, it swings back and forth, with Trump pulling one way and most Republicans kind of pulling the other way, but they're balancing. At the moment, they're balancing. It's scary to look at from below anyway, and I consider myself below because I'm nowhere near those airy heights of power and glory. I don't know what else. I'm always trying to find, this, and this. I always like to have three things, and I so often only have two, and sometimes only have one. So you can ignore that, but that's just something I've noticed about myself. It's like I need three examples of everything, and then I feel comfortable that I have sort of encapsulated it. And when I can't come up with three, I always struggle. It's like I've got one and two, but three is eluding me, and I can't get there. So anyway, when I look at it from beneath, which is where I imagine myself to be, it's frightening because it appears time and time again like it's going to come crashing down at any moment. If Trump pulls too far towards the glorification of self side, the whole thing will go crashing down that side of the mountain. And if the Republicans party, the establishment Republicans and everybody else pulls too hard to the wealth and privilege side, that'll come crashing down. And, none of it is any good for the rest of the country at all in any way. I mean, you look at the tax cut. That was supposed to be the Republicans. That was their one achievement, the one unified Republican achievement. And it was supposed to be the thing they were going to ride onto success after success because it was so great, except that it didn't work for anybody. I got a tax cut, yes, a tiny, tiny difference. My paycheck had to be adjusted. It was like $10 or $20, some little tiny amount. It was an adjustment to how much I get in every paycheck. And it was, I'm happy to get $10 or $20 more, but not at the cost of what it's doing to the country. And I am on the way, way, way low end of people who are getting tax cuts. The wealthy people are probably getting a great big one, and they're all probably going, "Oh, that tax reform thing was a great thing." But there are not that many wealthy people compared to the rest of us. So you've got this whole country full of people going, tax cuts. What actually happened here? Nothing. No big change in my life, my personal life. I was supposed to start making more money at my job. Not really. Not enough to really care about over, maybe I noticed it the first couple of paychecks and thought, oh, that's nice. I made, a few more dollars. But after that, it just becomes, because my lifestyle isn't going to change. My standard of living isn't going to go up. So most of us didn't see anything from that. Big corporations, big investment companies, big banks, all those people, oh yeah, they got a lot and they're very happy. But that's not enough people come election time to really make a difference. So the Republicans are zooming towards the fall elections without really having done anything that anybody but hardcore Trumpists are going to be excited about. The hardcore, the far, far right, who are out there going, yeah, stick it to the liberals, screw them, go make buddies with Russia, let's be friendlier, we're all Russian now, those people, they're thrilled, yeah, let's just murder immigrants and lock them in cages and, do all these horrible things. That small, not small enough, I must say, but that smallish group is very pleased with the Trump era. So you've got wealthy people who are happy that they're getting tax cuts, and far, far right people who are happy that everybody else is unhappy, and that's it. So I don't know. I mean, I'm afraid that voter suppression and all those things are going to make it very difficult for there to be any changes. But I have to say, it's like watching a slow motion crash, and it has been since even before the election, during the run up to the election, the primaries and all that. Just from the moment Trump came down that escalator or whatever it was at his hotel, it's been like watching a movie, and it hasn't seemed real, except that the effects of it have been real. And I've seen terrible things happening to people and heard about even worse things happening to people because of this. So I know it's real, and I know it's really bad, but I just don't have a way of comprehending it that I can stick with it. I walk around being outraged most of the time, and then I just kind of blank out and go, all right, forget it. I'm gonna read a book or something. I can't cope with it. It just does not seem possible that we could be in such a terrible place and that people could celebrate someone who is intentionally trying to destroy, I want to say the country, but not really the country, trying to destroy what the country is and turn it into something that it never really was and certainly cannot ever be. But they're trying really hard to make it that. So you have Second Amendment nuts out there trying to turn the entire country into some version of what movies used to portray the old Wild West as prior to it being quote-unquote civilized. So they want gunfights in the streets. In Florida, you have people, there was just a thing. These guys got into an argument over a parking space. One of them pushed the other one, and the guy pulled out a gun and shot him, and they're saying, oh, well, we can't do anything to him because he has a stand your ground law. So the guy who started the fight escalated it, but ended up being pushed, just walks away. He kills the other guy. He killed somebody for nothing, for pushing him onto the ground. Does that even make sense to anyone, anywhere? Well, apparently it does to Florida. It makes sense to them. So, I mean, we have things like that. We have people pushing for that kind of world. They want the entire United States to be that world where if you feel threatened, you can pull out your gun and shoot somebody. And the courts won't do anything to you as long as the courts like the cut of your jib, so to speak. In other words, if you are the right sort of person, you get off scot-free. So it's basically that what they're trying to do is give everybody who's on their side a get-out-of-jail-free card for doing anything they want, while leaving it possible to outright murder on up to, on the more legal side, prosecute those that they don't like. So that's why police can go out and just shoot people randomly. I mean, I'm sure it's not quite random, but it seems to be. I mean, these are unarmed people who are, you know, I was at a traffic stop reaching for my driver's license and they shot him. Oh, you get off scot-free because you're a cop. So clearly the law works in different ways. So in Florida, you have this guy who pulls out a gun and shoots somebody who pushed him. And in this other place, you have a guy who is reaching for his driver's license and gets shot. In each case, the person who gets off without anything is white. The person who ends up dead is black. How does that work? Well, it works because that's what it's supposed to do. That's what the system that they want is supposed to do. That's what stand your ground laws are supposed to be for. That's what concealed carry laws are all about. They're all about providing the right sort of people with the legal tools to to be free to do basically whatever they want, while leaving enough of the law there to provide other people with an absolute, you know, guarantee of either ending up dead or ending up in jail. Now, does this sound like conspiracy theorizing? Sure it does. I'm sure it does. Somebody's listening and going, oh, this is ridiculous. That's not what that's supposed to do. If that's what it ends up doing, then how can you say that's not what it's supposed to do? Maybe that's not what it's intellectually supposed to do, but that's what ends up happening. That's how it works. That's why people keep doing it. So even if it's not supposed to do that, if it does that, and people see that it does that, and then they push for it anyway, they're not looking at what's actually happening and saying, oh, well, this isn't working the way, you know, the theory is supposed to work. You know, in theory, it's supposed to work like this. You know, all citizens have the right to protect themselves, blah, blah, blah. But in actual point of fact, only a certain group of citizens ends up being able to use those laws to their advantage, and everyone else suffers for it. Okay, that's the reality. That may not be the theory, but that's the reality. Okay, so what do they do in recognizing that reality? They continue to push for those same laws and more of them. What does that tell you? Is it a conspiracy? Are people sitting around a table in a darkened room going, oh, I've got an idea, let's try this? Probably not. I would be very surprised if that were the case. But see, that's how these things work. When you hear somebody talking about institutional racism, that's what they're talking about. They're talking about the sort of racism that's woven into, in and amongst and between and betwixt. There's a word you don't hear very often on the radio, betwixt. The laws and the standards and the rules and the way things operate. It's there. The system has been warped just enough to make that work. So it works for the chosen group. It doesn't work for, it actually works against the selected scapegoats of this system. That's institutional racism. You can't read the letter of all the rules and laws and say, oh, well, it's obvious that they're being racist here. No. That's the point. It's not written down anywhere. It's not typed out. Here's the portion, the small print. And all the benefits of these laws are not intended to accrue to those of the inferior races listed below. You know, brown, black, yellow, blah, blah, blah. It's not like that. That's not what people are saying. They're saying the system has been warped to work a certain way, and seeing that it works that way, the majority, the people in power, the people who have power, look at it and say, Yeah, that's okay. That's working. Oh, we could improve it a little bit, but yeah, that's good enough for me. And it keeps going. It perpetuates on and on and on. And that's what we're talking about. So that's when I sound like I'm spinning conspiracy theories. I'm not really. I'm not saying that Illuminati or somebody is off somewhere, plotting these things. I'm saying that people are pushing and pulling. The people who have the power to push and pull are molding, pushing, pulling, warping, shaping policies, rules, all these different things. And they're looking at the results, and they're not blind. They're seeing the same thing I'm seeing. They may explain it to themselves differently, but they see it. They see what you see. They see what I see. They're seeing all that same stuff, and they're going, yeah, that's good enough. That works. So that is the problem. If you are on city council, if you are on, I don't know, you're a government, or you're voting for somebody who looks at the situation, the status quo, and says, good enough for me, we can improve it, but it's pretty good the way it is, you're part of the problem. Because it's not pretty good the way it is. It is not working. It works for some people. It works for some people, not everybody. It does not work for people who need it more to work for them. All right. So that's sort of the rant of the day, I guess. It's probably all going to be rant today. I'm not sure. But that's what I look at when I see the government. That's what I'm seeing from my perspective, is I'm seeing how all these things work or don't work, and who they work for and who they work against. And I'm seeing people looking at that and saying, yes, thumbs up to that. That's pretty good. And I realize those people are supporting the system. They are supporting the domination, the oppression of others. If you vote, you should be thinking about all this stuff. And you should be listening for candidates who are saying, no, this is not working. Not, it's pretty good and we could tinker around the edges of it and make it better, but no, this is not working. We need to change it. We need to fix it. That's what you need to be looking for. I'm sorry. If you're comfortable out there, if you're sitting in your comfy chair, in your fine house, staring at your fine children and your lovely lawn, and you're going, yeah, but I'm pretty comfortable the way things are. I don't want to rock the boat too much. Well, the only reason you're comfortable is because there are a lot of people somewhere else that are uncomfortable. And that's the thing about people in the U.S. that we all need to realize. We are doing fairly well here. And yeah, there's poverty, there's misery, there's all sorts of things in this country. But by and large, as a country, if you've traveled as much as I have around this country, you will see that most of it, the majority of it, is filled with people that are doing pretty well. Not great necessarily, not as well as they want to be. There are people struggling all over the place. But for the most part, we all have access to food. We all have access to shelter,